The Invader humbucker. They're loud. They're mean. They don't sound good clean. But what if I told you that with just a simple mod, you could have actual usable clean tones from this pickup with just the flick of a switch? Or the pull of a pot. Hey, this is Ross from Utility Belt Effects, and welcome back to Tone Secrets, Episode 3, Hacking the Invader. I'm in. Today's episode, I'm going to show you a simple hack that I have been using lately to get some really awesome clean tones and alternative crunch tones from this pickup. If you're like me or you're a fan of this channel, there's a pretty good chance that you probably have a Fender Strat with a single humbucker in it. And the Invader's an awesome pickup. You know, it's really meaty and powerful sounding, and it's awesome with distortion. But one of its major shortcomings is its clean tones. It doesn't really get that clean. So I was coming up with some solutions for that. Now, just to be clear, this is not a coil tap. I'm not splitting the humbucker, okay? This is something different. This is series versus parallel wiring. What I've done is I've installed a push-pull pot to switch from series humbucker to a parallel humbucker. So what is the difference? What is series wiring versus parallel wiring? Well, typically, if you have a guitar with a humbucker in it, it's wired in series. And what that means is you have these two coils, and they're going into each other. They're additive. So if this coil is wound to 8K and this coil is wound to 8K, they are additive. They add to each other. It becomes a 16K humbucker, which the Invader is. If you were to coil split them, you would be shutting off one of the coils, and you would get an 8K single coil. Frankly, I don't think that sounds good. I've never really heard a humbucker that sounds great when you split it into a single coil, because now you're getting a noisy, buzzy single coil, which is the whole reason I am using a humbucker, you know? But there's a middle ground, and I don't understand why more people don't talk about the middle ground between a full-blown humbucker and a coil tap humbucker, which is a single coil, and that is a parallel wired humbucker. So what that is rather than this coil flowing into this coil and going to the output and becoming additive, they actually are simultaneously going to the output together in parallel. So rather than getting a full-blown 16K super powerful humbucker, you're actually getting a low output, bright, chimey humbucker that is much more reminiscent of a low output PAF or even a P90. Regardless of what the output is or what's happening, the important thing to know is that it is still hum canceling, okay? So here's the full-blown humbucker with some distortion on, and here is the humbucker in parallel. It's still hum canceling. You're hearing a little bit of distortion pedal noise, but it's not like a crazy buzzy single coil, which it would be if you were to coil split it. So here's a quick demo of the clean tones. I'm going into a Matchlock Caliburn plugin, which is like a clean Fender amp. Here is the full series pickup. Same thing in parallel. So it's much brighter, it's much more articulate, there's less low end to make it muddy, and it's a little bit quieter. If I throw on a little reverb and delay, you go from this to this. Pretty nice. Additionally, because the switch is basically right here at your volume knob, you can pretty quickly switch between parallel wiring and series wiring, going from clean to distortion if you're using like a pedal. So here's an example of that. First, here's just the full-blown series pickup. It's okay, but it's really like big and beefy for a clean tone. If I pull up on the pickup, and now it's parallel, so with just a flick of the switch, you're back in full-blown series humbucker mode. Here's the exact push-pull pot that I got off Amazon. This is a CTS 500K push-pull pot, and this is like the fancy one that has little individual ports for you to select the exact kind of wiring you want. You could use this for just a single coil split, but frankly, I don't think those sound very good. I think this is a lot more usable. Let me just run through a couple different guitars so you can hear the full spectrum of pickups that are available now. So here's a Fender Strat with single coils. Incidentally, these are hum-canceling single coils, but they're meant to sound pretty accurate to true single coils. Here's my Les Paul with pretty low output PAFs in it. Here's the full Invader humbucker in series mode. And in parallel. Pretty nice. Now, as I said before, this isn't just useful for clean tones. It sounds awesome with distortion too. By switching to parallel wiring, you get like a super articulate, low output PAF sound. It's almost reminiscent of a P90 would sound. Let me show what that sounds like with distortion. Here's the regular full-blown pickup. And now parallel wiring. So you're getting a little more articulation, a little more high end, and a little less low end. Now, what's cool about that is the regular Invader is always going to be there for you to use, but you're now like doubling the usefulness of this guitar, in my opinion. I also feel like this is super useful in a recording context because now you have a much more articulate pickup that you can use either in substitution for the Invader or alongside it when you're double tracking. Here's an example I recorded to better illustrate this. I recorded some new guitars for the Green Day track Welcome to Paradise. In this first version, you're going to hear just the Invader, full-blown and standard series wiring, double tracked. In this next version, it's the Invader, but in parallel wiring, so much lower output and much more articulate, but still double tracked left and right. For a third example, here's one guitar recorded in series and one guitar recorded in parallel, so you get kind of the full spectrum of pickup sounds in left and right channels. For this final example, here's probably what I would do, which is record the full-blown series Invader in the left and right channels, and then when the full band kicks in, put a third track up the middle in parallel. That way there's less low end in the guitar, taking up space from the kick drum and the bass guitar right up the middle. So I think that's going to wrap up episode 3 of Tone Secrets. I hope you dig this quick Invader hack to make your single pickup guitar have a wider range of tones available. Let me know in the comments ideas for future episodes and if you're going to add this to your guitar or not. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And buy my pedals, of course. Thank you.